It's North London derby weekend, and Mikel Arteta has been facing the press while Declan Rice admits to holding meetings after what was a crisis game against Wolves. This is today's Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is indeed the Arsenal News Show. Joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. If you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. That would be greatly appreciated. And thank you so much as always for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here, and we're going to jump into the chat box. We're going to tackle some of your questions in part two. We've got some stories to go through, of course, as usual, as always, as well. So make sure that you are indeed locked in, dropping those likes, dropping those subscriptions, and all the usual YouTubey stuff. Good morning to Arisilki, to Manny, to Claire, to Barry, to Franklin. We've got Mohammed in the chat. We've got Lee. We've got Rich, Knowledge, Matt G, John. Good morning to you, to Tom, to Maria, to Thomas. Good morning to Izzy. In the chat box, Carrie Ann and Z and Jonas, good morning to all of you. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Greatly appreciate you being here, of course, as well. And thank you so much for listening. Oh, there's a lot of people saying happy birthday. King says, morning all. It's my son Prince's 7th birthday today. Any chance of a birthday shout out, Tom? He's finished unwrapping his presents and tuned in. Happy birthday to Prince. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Really, really do. And brilliant stuff. Absolutely fantastic. So happy birthday to you and yours. Thank you so much always for tuning in, everybody. And without further ado, let's jump, shall we, into today's stories. We begin with some rather surprising and unexpected news, if you like. James Ellis, who was Arsenal's kind of like technical director. He'd previously been an assistant sporting director to Jason Ato, and then Andrea Berta was promoted to kind of this technical director role 7 months ago, following the appointment of Andrea Berta as the sporting director. He's been involved in a number of significant deals at Arsenal and helped with a number of high-profile moves, but he has now left the club after just 7 months in charge. Sammy Mokbel of BBC, writing onto the BBC website last night, that he was promoted into the role from his previous position as head of recruitment last summer, but will now leave the Emirates. The club has undergone an internal restructuring in recent months. Andrea Berta taking over as sporting director, replacing Jason Ato. In November of last year, BBC Sport revealed that Napoli head of scouting, Maurizio Micheli had joined the club in a senior role, and Ellis's exit is the latest in a growing line of developments within the inner workings of the Emirates. We know also as well that the club's hierarchy has changed structure. Tim Lewis left last year. We've seen many members of the board kind of reshuffled and a number join as well. But there are no details right now as to the why of James Ellis's exit. Just that there is an ongoing restructuring at Arsenal behind the scenes, people leaving, people joining. And it seems James Ellis is the most recent one. But it is a little eyebrow raising considering the timing, considering how little time he spent in the role, which does raise a few questions. So if there's any further details on this and any further kind of impact, I guess, from this deal, from this situation, if you like, we will, of course, talk about it, discuss it, and comment on it. But at the moment, that's all the information that we've got right now. So if any developments, we'll be sure to discuss them. Declan Rice spoke exclusively to Simon Collins of The Sun this week, and revealed as well that there were a number of scenarios that happened after that game against Wolves, and how he described a crisis meeting, if you like. Well, not a crisis meeting. He was describing it. It certainly feels like that. He describes it as a firm chat, is what has been going down at the Shelby Royalty Training Centre. A firm chat was had. And so whether or not that turns into anything positive for Arsenal, we will wait and see. But yeah, speaking to Simon Collins, you can read the full article, of course, over on the Sun website. He said, "We spoke to each other in a firm way after Wolves. We knew we'd let ourselves and the fans down after being in such a good position. Letting it slip is not the standards that we have set ourselves this season. We had a team meeting and we are ready to go again. And of course, it's not really any surprise that he's speaking in such a way. Nor is it a surprise they've had a meeting. I would say that they hold meetings after, every single kind of game. But this was just more of a serious conversation after what was a very, very disappointing result against Wolves. So we will wait and see if indeed what happens, and move from there. Move from there into the weekend, which is Arsenal's clash in the North London derby against Tottenham. Mikel Arteta speaking yesterday at the Shubba Realty Training Centre. It was, it was a bullish response from Arteta in the press conference. I don't think that's come as any surprise to any of you that he spoke in such a way ahead of this weekend's game. The boost, of course, in terms of team news, is that both of Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard are said to be big possibilities to be involved on Sunday. So there's hope there. If I was kind of banking on anybody to be involved, I feel as though Odegaard will, of course, be there in the squad. Havertz, less confident, but there is a chance that he too could be there. I just don't want to see Kai rush back. If he does come back on the weekend, I would get the sense that he had been, after, of course, we heard from David Ornstein only a couple of weeks ago that he was out for 3 to 4 weeks. So it would give me a little bit of a concern that he was, kind of pushing to be back and sooner than feasibly possible. But Martin Odegaard's return is obviously a welcome one. I think we certainly missed him against Wolves in midweek. But the reaction to a number of stories, it was a bit of an odd presser, to be honest. There was clearly tell that the pressure is there and the frustration is there from the game against Wolves, and they just want the next game to come around against Spurs so they can put it right. He was asked about Saka's contract, and he says, I think they are all very important. We are very happy that the players are feeling in such a strong way about the club and what we are doing and the way the team treats it and the fact that we can continue to improve and we are going to win together. We got it clear since it took very, very little for him to make that decision, and the club is so aligned with him. I think it's a very positive thing. I thought he would be more specific on Bukayo, really, and the renewal of a deal as important as Bukayo. I remember speaking about Saliba or speaking about others. It just seemed that, that was the timing of the announcement of Saka's deal. And obviously we know that this has been signed since, January. It's nothing new. But to talk about it for the first time publicly, I thought there would be more from Mikel, but there wasn't. And then, of course, we went straight into the Wolves situation. Before we do go into Wolves and before we go into the North London derby as well, he was also asked about the Vinicius Junior situation as well. He was asked, I'm sure you've seen the incident in midweek involving Vinicius Junior, just more of a general thing. Have you had conversations with your players if an incident like that was to arise during a game? And have you spoken about what would happen in an instance like that? For example, if they said, I want to walk off the pitch, I don't want to play, is that something that you support? And Arteta said, well, that's why we have meetings with the Premier League or UEFA before the season starts to make sure that everybody is very aware of the protocols and what we expect from each other. Obviously, there is no room for racism in the sport. I think we need to stick to that. And then the manner of acting, I think you have to go case by case to understand what's the best option. I'll be very blunt with you. I wasn't happy with that as an answer to the question. I would have liked to have him to be stronger. I've listened to Vincent Kompany speak on this. I've listened to Pep Guardiola speak on this in the last 24 hours. I would have just liked a stronger response. It's not a scathing criticism, and it's probably to do with the context and the tone of the last 72 hours. I wanted a stronger answer than that. I would have liked to have seen kind of a real backing of like a player's decision in a moment of what would be horrible consequence and scenario to go through such a thing. So I know it's kind of a stock answer. I know it's a very prepared answer, and he's very consistent in doing that for a lot of different high-profile topics. But I personally am a bit disappointed that the answer to that question wasn't stronger. And when you look at kind of the answers from some other managers across other clubs, that's the type of kind of backing and outspoken nature on that topic that I'd prefer to see. That's just my opinion. And everyone's entitled to one. So, yes, going into the derby, and of course also the Wolves game, he was very good on kind of the idea of the fallout from Wolves. He says, what I've seen is a tremendous reaction again, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, when you lose points in the last kick of the game again in a very unpredictable manner, I would say, because to predict somebody with a 0.02 expected goal, to concede an equaliser in that manner that we did, nobody can really understand that. But this is football, and that's the beauty of it. That was a chapter, so we have a long season. Chapter 27 says, okay, we go and we draw in this manner. What I'm very interested in is the next one, what we are made of, what we love about this, and how we write our own destiny from here going forward. And that's it. And you have to react to that because life moves on. The result has to stay unfortunate as it was. There is nothing we can do, and what we can do is adapt to what's going to happen next. And talking about, obviously, what happens next, the players, I think it was Darmesh from Sky, asked a question. They looked totally crestfallen, but clearly there's still a long way to go. What would be your message to the fans right now as well? He said, because the immediate reaction is tough. You know, you put so much. You look at the first half and actually what happened in the game, and it was very post-match as well about the standards that we showed. It was better than I expected, but it's still not enough to the standards that we required. Very difficult to understand. So it's a shock to the system, but they've been incredibly good with that. And yeah, we wanted to give them the victory. We couldn't, and we have to move on. Again, he's saying that in retrospect, having kind of watched the game, like he said that it was better than expected, or he actually said it was much better than expected. I certainly did. I have now stomached a rewatch, and I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it was much better than expected. Watching it back, I still think the standards were not met. The expectations were not met. And yes, there were some unlucky moments. And yes, we conceded for some crazy moments. But we had 3 shots after we scored, I think, the second goal, if that. Yes, there were big moments. Yes, Martinelli should score his chance. Yes, we should do better with the opportunities that we create. But that in itself is worthy of criticism. So, yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Darmesh said, you'd say about moving on, there's a small matter of a North London derby next. Tottenham may see this as an opportunity to dent your title chances, but from your perspective, is this almost maybe the perfect fixture for Arsenal after what's happened in the last couple of games? He said, it's the one that we have, and after it's the one that we cannot wait to play. If we could play today, I think we'd all love to play today and get that feeling that we have in our tummies and use it in the right way, and we have to show that on Sunday. He was asked a question about Igor Tudor coming in as the new boss, and he basically said, this happened to us 7 times already this season. So we've analysed everything that he's done in his career in different clubs, in different formations, the players that they are having that are available and what they tend to expect. But Igor Tudor speaking yesterday, shout out to John Cross, who was at the Spurs press conference and asked Igor Tudor, did he know what Spursy meant? Which I just think is like, yes, I'm all here for that. I'm so here for that. Of course, Crossy tends to be at the Arsenal press conferences, but as our chief writer at the Mirror, went to the Spurs press conference for the new Spurs manager's first presser, and he said, do you know what Spursy means? And he got to explain what Spursy meant to Igor Tudor. So that was, if you haven't seen the clip, I recommend going and going and giving it a watch because it was great viewing. Really, really great viewing. But yeah, Arteta says that, they're going to prepare for it in the right way. And also Spurs are without so many players. I was looking this morning at the Premier League injuries website. Wilson Odegaard, knee injury. James Maddison, knee injury. Dejan Kulusevski, knee injury. Rodrigo Bentancur, thigh injury. Mohamed Kudus, thigh injury. Ben Davis, ankle injury. Lucas Bergvall, ankle injury. Romero, suspended. Adoji, thigh injury. Danso, ankle injury. Richarlison, thigh injury, although there is an expectation he could be back for this game. And Pedro Porro as well, thigh injury. He also could potentially make it back, but they are in dire straits injury-wise, Spurs. So no doubt that, there is going to be huge expectations from Arsenal on this game, and real expectations that we're going to see improvement there. I have to hold my hands up. My questions were bad yesterday. I had it all worked out in my head. Like, I can go from 1 week of it, being pretty pleased with what I asked and go to the next week and not be pleased with what I asked. the concept around the questions itself was this idea of what the core principles are when you are 1-0 up in a game, and kind of this idea that, you know, when you are leading games by a single goal, what are the core principles for your team in that moment? And Arteta just said, you know, score the second and third one. And I'm like, I have to hold that. You know, obviously it's that. And so I had to push him a bit by saying, you know, what are you expecting your players to do to go on to achieve that next goal? And he said, attack better, be more dominant in the high press, dominant in the rest of the play. Don't give unnecessary fouls. So the goalkeeper is going to start to put the balls on the line and put the two centre-backs up. Dominate all the chaos situations, all the things that we want to do, and keep the ball under pressure. You know, and to that I said, since the start of last season, Arsenal have dropped 28 points from winning positions in games. What have you identified from the analysis, from the retrospect, that led to that, and what is being done to address it? Now, Arsenal also in 2026 have dropped 7 points this year, which is the second most of any team from winning positions in the Premier League in just 1.5 months or so. And he says, if we address that, we are the best team in the world and unstoppable, because we will be 30 or 32 points ahead of everybody else. Look, I get the sense that the question riled him up a bit. It was not the intention for that. It was just this idea to kind of get insight into what the core principles are around going 1-0 up in games. And obviously, off the back of dropping so many points from winning positions, I wanted to know what is being done more to address that, but it kind of just got a bit of a sarky answer. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But I didn't get the sense that this was a press conference where he was in the mood for these type of questions. So maybe I should read the room better. Art de Roche, who you can usually lean on always for a good question, said, you mentioned margins after the Wolves game, and it's a word that you've used before as well. I was wondering, when you look at those margins and wanting to widen them, is it something that you see as something happening by chance with goals, or is it deeper than that? And he said, goals for or against? And Art said both. He said, well, against, it's very unpredictable to predict the kind of goals that we conceded. The Brentford one from a throw-in, much more. What can we do before that to prevent it happening? It's still improvable. And in the attacking process, the first half, we had very different outcomes. In the second half as well, it was a very, very open situation. We didn't even finish with a chance. So a lot of room to improve. Asked about Saka and Havertz, you know, the potential for Havertz to play, and, you know, those two playing in the number 10s. I was just wondering, with them both available, would you, I guess, like to be using them in a combination? And you haven't done that so far. We don't know with Kai being available. And he said, yeah, we can. Depends as well on the availability of those players in terms of the load that he can absorb. Bukayo was okay to start the game, but we knew that he could not finish the game. So we had to get him out because he was going to start to cramp or take a risk with the previous injury that he'd had. And we didn't want to do that. So depending on the state of the player and how much, of course, that we can use them. He also confirmed that Leandro Trossard is fine for the weekend as well. So that's also a really, really positive outcome as well. But yeah, overall, it was, you could tell he was bullish. You could tell that he was very angsty to kind of get to the next game, to play the next game, and to get to that fixture on Sunday. So let's see a response, I guess. You know, we're hoping that we see a big response from this team in the next fixture, and it's the biggest fixture of our season so far. Every game feels like that, because every game is that. We have to go into it and we have to get the result that we need. You can get the result that you need when it comes to securing your internet safety and security online by going to nordvpn.com/Gooner and going and getting yourself a significant discount off a 1 or a 2 year plan, and 4 months extra thrown in free on top of that too. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy with the service for whatever reason, but if you stick with the service for longer than those 30 days, you might just find a little exclusive extra on top of that as well. That's nordvpn.com/Gooner. Keep yourself safe while you are indeed online, safe and secure, in perhaps using a public Wi-Fi service in any of the zones that you find yourself regularly using them in. And not only that, but you can keep yourself safe from those data criminals and those pesky little data snoopers that you want to keep yourself as far away from as feasibly possible. That's nordvpn.com/Gooner. Right, let's go to part 2. Your questions, your thoughts, and more right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's show, where we're going to jump into the chat box, tackle some of your questions. So if you indeed got any questions you'd like to throw into the chat box, now is the time to do that. Use a capital Q. It really will help them stand out, and I'll do my best to give you as many answers and as better answers as I can to all of them. So yeah, do drop a like, of course, subscribe to the channel as well. Let's go to Rudy says, Tom, fancy making a guest appearance on our Dutch supporters group podcast? If I've got time, I will. I'm always willing to jump on a pod anytime I've got the time to do it. It's just finding the time to do it is always the most difficult thing. But if we can find a time that works, mate, of course. Let's go to John. Says Arsenal Football Club have become the laughing stock of English Premier League. It's got to the point that this can't go on. Something's got to change. Check's Premier League table. Laughing stock of the Premier League. Wow, if Arsenal are the laughing stock of the Premier League sitting where we are, whoa, goodness gracious. What must the rest of the league be looking like? Jonas says, Tom, I hope you appreciate the video of Swedish politician comparing the involvement of the Swedish economy to Tottenham. I have been sent this video. I think I've not been sent a video by more people than this one. So many people have sent me on Instagram in the DMs this video. So many people have sent it to me. It's brilliant. Thank you to all of you that did. It is wonderful, really. It's just been a 24 hours of Spursy, hasn't it? So we can all really do appreciate that. Temi says, Tom, do you think it's time for Norgard to start replacing Zubimendi in the second half of games? Yes, we've been talking about this for quite a few games. No doubt in my mind, 100%. We should be seeing Norgard a lot more. He was actually asked. I kind of skipped over that question. And I shouldn't have done. It was Soraya from the Premier League asked the question. Let me just find it. Here it is. So it's normal for some players to drop, but I've asked you previously about Norgard. I'm going to ask you again. When it comes to sometimes when players do the regularly drop in performances, what are you assessing ahead of picking a team that maybe Norgard then can't come in sometimes? And he said, well, we have played with Christian. Declan has played there as well. We have changed a lot of players in the team. So depending on what kind of game that we play, who do we believe is in the best condition? And that's, as you said, physically, mentally, but technically and tactically to deliver what we require. And look, I don't think it's about I don't think it's about necessarily starting lineups. Like starting lineups are always, to me, a little bit, you can easily overanalyze a starting 11 because we are without so much information when it comes to picking teams. We don't know the condition of players. We don't know how many minutes the players are available for. We don't know what's gone in training that week. We don't know how good they've looked in training that week. We don't know what they're matching up tactically to the other side. There are so many variables when picking a starting 11. However, when the reality of a second half comes around and you need to make changes, you need to make switches and to change things to help you be in the best position to win a game, that's where I think we can make much better scrutiny and analysis of what is or isn't happening. And in my opinion, we are not using Norgard enough in those moments. It's not necessarily from the starting lineup. I would happily see him in the starting lineup, but I do feel personally that I think that we should be using Norgard a lot more from the second half of games, coming on and replacing Norgard or adding to Norgard and Rice and helping us to help see out games, bringing on another defender in moments where you're tuning up at Wolves, for example. Like these are just the kind of things that I would like to see. Tony says, Tom, so Arteta tells them to go forward, but as we've seen, they don't. Are the players therefore then not listening to the manager? Well, if he's asking them to do something and we're not seeing it enough, then that is you're putting 2 and 2 together and you're getting 4, right? I mean, you can't really divulge it much more along there. John says, Tom, you're in denial. The bottling is a problem. I don't know what I've denied, John, to be honest. Andy says, theoretically, a few times, quick in mind, he was just crazily unlucky the way that ball bounced off him. I mean, this is in response to something else. I don't know if it's Calafiori or not, but yes. Do you think Calafiori could have tried to save that shot with his hands, take the red card? No. That's never an answer, Fizzy. It's never, ever, ever an answer. And he says, Arteta never answers the questions and accepts when he's wrong. It has become boring watching Arteta's pressers. No information or credibility. I would disagree with you, Anish. I think there are plenty of really good answers that we do get. And I think there were some really good answers yesterday still as well. But it wasn't one of his stronger press conferences. We tend to I know when there's been a really good press conference. And to be fair, I would recommend that you listen to the section that comes out later tonight. So there's an embargoed section that will come out going in for tomorrow's papers for the Sunday game. There was a question about the noise that came in, and he spoke really, really well on the noise, actually. So there were some better answers, but I wouldn't have said it's like, we go to so many pressers. I think Ange Postecoglou was talking about press conferences on the Overlap pod and said that, he had to do 130 press conferences, in the time that he was at Spurs over those, 2 seasons. And, that is a ridiculous number of press conferences, when that means in each press conference you're getting asked at least 10 questions. So 1,300 questions. I mean, that's a lot. So to expect great answers from everything is a bit much, but obviously, yeah. Billy Bunn says, have you cleaned your ears out recently? Yes, I have. I did make a bit of an error during the presser. I thought he'd said there was a little possibility of Havertz and Odegaard being available, but everyone quickly corrected me to say he said a big possibility. So I had to correct myself. Yeah, clearly hadn't cleaned my ears out properly. I had a bit of a mare yesterday. Usually what happens is, you go and you put your phone up on the desk to record the presser. Completely forgot to do that. So I put my phone on the floor to record the presser, because obviously I need to listen to it back to do the transcript. But yeah, absolutely mental, really, to forget to do that. And then obviously just completely misheard what was said. So yeah, one of those things. Bailey says, we don't need Mikel's answer. Beating around the bush. I'm over this question. Isn't it obvious? If we were finishing games in the first 60 minutes, surely we would have seen Norgard plenty, but we're not. I hear that, but what I will say is that I think still, if you're narrowly beating a team, Norgard can help you with his experience, with his calmness, help to see out those performances better than perhaps we have done across plenty of games this season. Maxim says 32 Premier League minutes in 4 Premier League games. That's how much Norgard has been used. Yeah, it's not enough, is it? It's not enough. Mason says, with both fully fit, would you rather have Nkapia? I mean, Calafiori, Nkapia is probably our most informed player at the moment. 2 goal contributions in his last 2 league games. He's probably our most informed player right now, Nkapia. So I'd be starting Nkapia on Sunday. Jason's side tangent away from football. Do you have any opinions on Conor Benn moving away from Eddie Hearn? No, I don't really follow boxing too closely, Jay. I'm sorry. So I'm not one to comment. I watch a big fight now and again, but the politics I don't really pay attention to. Vacan says, what movie would you suggest the squad watch to get inspired? I'd suggest Rocky 3. Yeah. I mean, I think like I was going to say like Twin Towers, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that the battle for Helm's Deep is the Two Towers. Sorry, not Twin Towers. The Twin Towers is something very different. The Two Towers, when it comes to kind of like that battle for Helm's Deep, it's not really that we are holding the fort necessarily. It's more that we need to be going on the attack than necessarily holding the fort. So yeah, it would have been that. A lot of you are suggesting a lot of different films now in the chat. Jonas says, we need to go on a winning spree now, all the way to the Carabao Cup final. Win that as well, and we'll surely be able to go on and win the league. Vincent says, Tom, this North London derby is the defining game over the season. Draw or lose, and it's over. A win is a must, no matter how. Come on, you Gooners. Sam says, even the greatest make mistakes, buddy. You're still here giving us the news like a pro. Thanks, Sam. Ian says, is it really important to give clarification on tactical reasons on why our Premier League games are a slog at this point of the season? I don't really think so. Why is this expectation of the manager? And I don't see a part 2, even though there was meant to be a part 2. Sorry, Ian. Tactical explanations. It wasn't a question about tactical explanations. It was a question about core principles. Like, what are the principles of what you want from your team when you are a goal up? And naturally, obviously, you want to see him go get the second and third goal. But yeah, I could have asked the question better. I put it on me. It's on me. Let's go to Natalie says, I think Newcastle draw or win. I mean, we haven't done a roundup of today's Premier League action yet. So let's go through all the games that are in action at 3 o'clock. No early kickoff in the Premier League today. At 3 o'clock, Aston Villa against Leeds United. Brentford take on Brighton, and Chelsea are against Burnley. In the 5:30 kickoff, West Ham United taking on Bournemouth. And then 8 o'clock, the game that matters most to Arsenal fans, Manchester City host Newcastle United. I'll be very honest with you. I am not expecting anything from that game. I am expecting nothing from that game. So, yeah, I'm not going to get my hopes up. Jabu says, why do I feel like City will drop points today? Newcastle might surprise them. I wish I had your confidence and optimism, and I'd love to even manifest it as best I could. But, yeah, struggling. Struggling big time. Rudy says, how scared are you for the coming matches at this point? I'm terrified. How do I contact you for a possible appearance? Rudy, we do phone-in shows now and again, so you just have to time it as well as you can. But when it comes to the idea of being scared, I'm never scared for games. I get anxious and apprehensive, but I'm never scared when it comes to playing. I hate this game, though. Like, I hate the North London derby. I hate the build-up to it. The reason why I hate this game is because the downside I always feel is so much bigger than the potential upsides. Like, beating Spurs is almost an expectation for Arsenal. And so if the opposite happens or you don't win that game, and especially because a draw is worse than it has ever been before in this game, the ramifications of that are just horrific. So, yeah, really not particularly looking forward to it, but hopefully we can get the job done. John says, Tom, do you like the style of football that we are playing? I will take every win, but the style is dictated. As I've said, and I'll continue to say, I genuinely don't care, John. I don't care how we play as long as we win the league. I've said this before. I do not care. And when you look at the league in itself, you look at kind of what the league has been this season, I don't think it's particularly surprising. I don't really look at anybody playing great football. Arne Slot can wax lyrical all he likes about how, him and his Liverpool team and Brighton supposedly go against the mould of the styles. But, look at where Liverpool are. They couldn't be more. It's probably the worst title defence ever since, Leicester, for this Liverpool team. It's been an embarrassing season for them. So, yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. Ian says, as a journo, of course, anyone has the right to ask a question about tactics, and they should, but we have to accept that he will evade those questions, and it is okay. We just need results. He does tend to answer questions around tactics. Like, he does give, insight about tactics at times, what he wants from the team. Even my poorly worded question got, a tactical insight into elements of what he wants from his team to go and get the next goal and the elements that he's looking for. So, he doesn't always evade those questions. So let's go to, honestly, so bored of you. Let's go to John says, we've kind of done that one. Let's go. Angel says, Norgard actually gave an impression himself at the presser before the last year at fixture that he has taken time to grasp the technicalities that Mikel was asking, but said he was now ready. Yeah, look, I think that he's not followed through on what he thinks regarding that. He's not followed through on his words around Norgard, in my opinion. I just don't think that he has. Sam says, we as fans need to not worry about others' results, just show the team support, and that will feed into the dressing room. This group of players are a bit nervous, and they have been so close, but not won it yet. Yeah, and as I said before, I don't care how we win it this season, as long as we do win it, because I think the mental boost of winning the league will no doubt help us. Tyrell says, big up, Todd. Nice to meet you the other day, Tyrell. Absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the game. It was a big win against Wigan, but it was nice to meet you. Highlight of the day, certainly. Boston Gunner says, I don't understand the pleasure people get by dwelling on painful past moments. Focus on the future that you can control, not the past that you cannot change. Your team needs you. Have you ever considered a career in public speaking, Boston Gunner? That was inspirational. That was inspirational stuff. Let's go to Mason says, have you seen that it's possible that we play City 5 times? Yes, I have. Absolutely mad, really, but we don't know yet. It does look likely that the 2 opponents that we could face in the next round of the Champions League are going to be a German side. Leverkusen have already put 2 past Olympiacos. Dortmund have put 2 past Atalanta. So, yeah, at the moment, it's looking like either Dortmund or Leverkusen. So a trip to Germany coming next month at some point. Ian says, I think the cup matches are so very important at this moment. As we progress through the cups, players will know that they have opportunities to win other trophies. What are your thoughts? I think that the Carabao Cup final psychologically is probably going to be the most important game of our season at that point. I think the team that wins the Carabao Cup will be at that point, probably, depending on what the points tallies are at that time, but probably be the favourites for the league as well. So that's it. Ice Cold Drink says, when we bottle the league and Arteta gets sacked, will you admit that you were wrong? Wrong about what? Wrong about what? That's all I have to. I don't know what I'd be wrong about. D says, yeah, I agree. The new players have to adapt to Arteta's vision, but he's not put a foot wrong when he's played. Arteta is treating him like a player that he never wanted, and that's going to hurt us. I think, that the adaptation of signing 8 players, I can never really point to. I can never ever point to the idea that we signed 8 players and so they need time to gel. That summer was needed. We cannot just turn around and say that because we've signed so many players that they have to take time to gel and they have to fit Arteta's vision. You sign those players to take you to the title. It really is as simple as that. PHUK Gamer says, Tom, if you were given the team talk prior to the Tottenham game, what would your key messages be to the players? I think, I'm not one necessarily for inspirational speeches myself. It's not really my forte. But I think you just have to think about the key messages being, you need to fight to achieve what you want to achieve. You need to think about how far we have come to this point. You need to play with enjoyment. And I think that speech that Arteta gave a couple of weeks ago where he said, we're going to play with conviction, we're going to play with courage, we're going to play with joy. I didn't see that, against Wolves. I didn't see joy. I didn't see courage. I didn't see conviction. This team, there's certainly individuals in this team that need to be almost kind of held through these games. But yeah, I'm not one for these inspirational speeches. Well, I'm not a manager. It's not in my lexicon. Rand says, all this Arteta out stuff is wild. Come on, hold your horses at least until the end of the season. Khan says, your questions in the last presser were top notch. Thanks, man. But I don't agree with you, but thank you. I appreciate the emotional support. I appreciate it. Ice Cold says, wrong about Arteta in what way? I'm sorry. Again, it's like this idea. I mean, are you an Arsenal fan as well? It seems weird to be an Arsenal fan and say when we bottle the league. That'd be a weird thing to say as an Arsenal fan. But I know it's strange. But it's not. Again, people kind of wear their opinions like football shirts these days. I've used that example many times before. It is a bizarre way, a bizarre mentality to have. Arteta could go. The players can go. The owners can go. Anyone could leave this club. Do you know who stays? Us. We stay. We're fans. The division that still exists within portions of this fan base, it's not as bad as it was 10 years ago, no doubt. But we're the ones that stay. We're here no matter what happens. When he leaves, we'll still be here. When players are sold, when new players arrive, we're still here. We're fans for life. That is what we choose to be. You don't dip in, drop in, leave, come back. It's not what fans do, So it's strange. As I say, people wear their opinions like t-shirts these days. Some people. So it's not about that. Just got to get beyond the team, hope that they succeed. You should be hoping that they do it, not because of an opinion. I don't want Arteta to win the league because I thought he is good enough to do it. That's not why I want Arsenal to win the league. I want Arsenal to win the league because I am an Arsenal fan and I love Arsenal. I want them to win every game because I'm an Arsenal fan. If you want Arsenal to ever lose a game, you lose that. You no longer are an Arsenal supporter if you ever want your team to lose a game. You lose that fandom. It's gone. You cannot be considered as much as a fan as anybody else. It's the only time where I'll ever say to anybody that they are less of a fan of someone else. Because as soon as you want your team to lose, you take a step down the rung of fandom. You step off that step of being an Arsenal fan. It's really as simple as that. The only expectation of a supporter, clue is in the word, is to support. That is it. It really is as simple as that. And yes, Wazza, I did listen to Elliot saying like that element of we're going to be here next season. We will be here, no matter what happens. We'll still be here. So it is as simple as that. Tony says, Tom, after Wolves, I wanted the manager sacked, players sold, and that's down to me being a reactional person. That's down to me. Yeah, I get it. after, like, in some ways, I was kind of glad that I did a recorded show on Thursday morning, and I wasn't able to do a live show, because sometimes you need longer than 24 hours to calm down, to take a step back, to look at the bigger picture. Sometimes you really have to just have that moment, as opposed to your head being on Mars. And I wouldn't blame any of you if your head being. It's why I empathize with. So if you read the comment section on Thursday morning's video, you read the comment section after that game, and there's a lot of people feeling very angry. There's a lot of me just going, fair enough. But I can't disagree with you, because I absolutely get why people are so angry and worried and frustrated and felt let down and felt betrayed at that performance. Because I felt angry. I felt betrayed at that performance. It was unprofessional. It was unacceptable. It was disgraceful. Use any word you want to describe that performance. And that's why I'm so irritated in the way Arteta saying yesterday that he felt that was much better than he thought it was, because it wasn't. I didn't really want to hear that. I don't think fans will want to hear that he thinks that performance against Wolves was much better than expected, because I don't agree with him. Rewatching that game, I don't agree with him. I'm not as good as a tactician as him. I'm nowhere near that level of understanding football that he is. Sure, I have to accept that, but I still, in my opinion, don't agree. So yeah, it is as simple as that. George says, getting on these fans about their fandom, and you said you weren't an inspirational speaker. It just went upstairs to put on my kit. Well, there you go. Maybe I proved myself wrong. Sam says, this is the issue. I think some fans would much rather us finish 8th, pick up a cup, and stay out of the running, because the pressure is too much, and it's easier to say that we're building and not contending. I have no interest in finishing 8th again. Those days are behind us. Those days are done. Before Arteta came along, we were a sleeping giant of a club, and we aren't anymore. So the reason why we are scrutinized, the reason why we are laughed at, the reason why that every club in this country has a chant dedicated to us, which I cannot wait to see the back of, and one of the bigger reasons why I want so desperately to win this league, is to point the finger at every single other fan in the country of every single other club that has sung that awful, embarrassing, stomach-churning chant, is because we are bigger than them. They are obsessed with us. And that is because we are good again. When we were finishing 8th, when we were finishing 5th, when we were finishing in the top 4 and never challenging, Arsenal would be getting little bits of praise. You wouldn't hear Arsenal talked about in the same way they talked about now. It would be, the job that Arsene Wenger's done, keeping this club in the top 4. What a job he's done with the little money when you consider what City and Chelsea and United have spent in these years. What a job he has done. Arsenal now spend money after not spending for years, for a decade, back into the Champions League, back into the latter stages of that competition, back into finals, back established as title challengers. Oh, second again, ole. Oh, this is the worst team that might ever win the Premier League. Oh, set pieces. Oh, this bollocks, that bollocks. You're obsessed with Arsenal. You're obsessed with this club. You can't handle them being good. And when they eventually do lift that trophy, you aren't going to hear the bloody end of it. You are not going to hear the end of it, and you deserve it. The idea that Arsenal fans are the worst fans in the world is a fallacy, because the only reason the Arsenal fans will be the worst fans in the country is because our rivals and critics and pundits have turned them into that. They have turned us into that team. They have turned us into the monster that so many people feel that we are. And that's not to say there are people within the fan base that I find slightly cringy. I've got friends whose words on Arsenal I find slightly cringy, and that I absolutely empathise with people going, I can't stand listening to so-and-so, they're so cringy, whatever. I get it. But the only reason they're like that is because of you. And that is the only reason. It's because of you. You put them on pedestals. You put them on platforms. You ask them volatile questions, flammable moments, clippable clips. You've done that to us. We haven't done that to us. It's as simple as that. So I look forward to when we can lift that trophy one day, because it'll be rubbed in your faces. It really, really will. Paul says, all right, we need, first of all, I know I do this all the time. People need to stop saying the word reactionary. and thinking that's what it means. It doesn't mean that. Do a quick Google and find out what reactionary means. You will be a little bit surprised. It doesn't mean that. Reactionary means far right. So you might not want to use that word. Paul says, I'm no reactive or overreactive person, but Wednesday's performance was a sickener. We have been taking the lead and throwing it away too often. Our players need to grow a pair and destroy Spurs. The Premier League must be earned. Absolutely. So he says they had a meeting after United loss and nothing really changed. Didn't they beat Leeds? Didn't they go to Leeds and win 4-0 after United game and then put 3 past Sunderland? So when you say nothing really changed, do you mean, I don't know what you mean, City. Yes, the draw at Brentford was frustrating. Yes, the draw against Wolves is frustrating, but let's not lie. Let's not just misrepresent the truth of what actually happened after that. Arsenal did respond to that defeat to Man United. But again, there was a bit of complacency. Brentford were very good. Wolves weren't, and we were complacent. The standards weren't high enough, and let's hope that we get a reaction again. Wazza says, look at the media narrative when we do something versus when literally any other team does it. No one spoke about Chelsea's ill-disciplined record at the season or Brentford's long throws. Yeah, think about how often Arsenal's red cards we're talking about. And think about how little we've seen anyone talk about Chelsea's even greater number of embarrassing red card volume. Like, it's just night and day. It's night and day. Angerman says, can someone honestly say Newcastle can take points? I don't think so, but I'll love to be proven wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. Soup says, fans certainly do forget quite quickly. Chelsea fans forgot that they are a small club. Aiden says, prefer to be second with the adversity we had for most of those seconds than 8th or 17th, but that doesn't mean I want us to win. I don't want us to win trophies, but I will be told to raise my standards. Look, I'm done finishing second, James. I'm done finishing second. I'm bored of it. It's not acceptable this season. Arsenal have to win the league this season. They have to win the league this season. Not winning the league this season is cataclysmic. I say it and have said it over and over again. There's no excuses. This season is about winning the league. It really is as simple as that. We have to go and win it. We have to win it. D says, yeah, I'm over this narrative shift when it comes to us. It's a joke and it won't go away. Anthony Gordon hat-trick says, Daya, I hope you're right, my friend. I really do. Barry says, win the League Cup, knock City out of the Champions League, beat him in the FA Cup final. Simples, mate. Simples. You make it sound so easy. I hope that it happens. But yeah, I think that the context around City as well, the City and Arsenal contexts are very different. You know, City had that run where they were dropping points. You know, only 2 weeks ago they dropped points, or 2 or 3 weeks ago they blew a 2-0 lead to Spurs. At their ground. And the reality of that, you know, the discussions around that, if you consider how they were spoken about compared to Arsenal, was night and day. And yet they're the team, you know. People talk about Arsenal having the best squad. I agree with Crossy. I absolutely 100% agree with Crossy. Arsenal do not have the best squad because they've not won anything. You can't have the best squad if they haven't won anything. You might have the deepest squad. Yeah, but no. It can't be the best squad unless you've won stuff. You just can't. You just can't. Let's go to Natalie says, everyone lost. City lost 2 points at Premier League games, and so will most everyone thinking. Sorry for my English. Yeah, everyone has lost points. No team. I don't think Arsenal or Man City will win every game between now and the end of the season. We just need to pick up more points than them. We need to just pick up more points than them. We need to beat them at their ground, I'd say as well. Really, really do. Sorry, Amesy, if I misunderstood your comment. I was kind of just riffing, to be honest, off of it. I wasn't really saying that's what you were saying about being happy finishing second. I was just kind of riffing off of it. Aziz says, it's absolutely massive tomorrow. It's a game of the season for Spurs. If we smash them, I believe they go down. If we lose, what do we do then, Tom? Season red card. I can't even fathom the idea of losing this game on Sunday. Losing that game is just... it's too horrible to think about. That's why I don't like this game, and I don't like the build-up to it. Just the realities remain so open. The possibilities remain in my head. So, yeah. Neon says challenging for everything is good enough from my side. Obviously, winning stuff would be amazing, and these are good times. Yeah, look, I'll be the first one to tell you that it's entitled to sit there and say that you are entitled to win anything. And as an Arsenal fan, you're incredibly privileged to go into every season supporting a club that competes in every competition that enters, because more than 90%, more than 95% of supporters are not fans of clubs that can do that. So that is a privilege, no doubt. But it's about the project. It's about what we've been. It's about what this league is. It's about what our opponents are. It's about what we're capable of. It's about what we've blown. If we don't win the league this season, it's on us. You can't point fingers anywhere else. You can't point to injuries. You can't point to refereeing decisions. You can't point to any lack of experience. If we don't win the league, it's on us. So that's the difference this season. Sam says best squad on paper, but trophies not won on paper. This time of year is what defines the best. The champions are the ones in the history books. Jay says, have you had a look at Igor Tudor's tactics? It seems very, very Ange. It's a very committed style, and I'm curious to see how much he's been able to embed in these first kind of moments. He is known for getting a reaction from his new teams, but he's also known for burning them out. But we're at the start of that era, so maybe it's an interim coach that could work. Paul says, Tom, I use dictionaries and Google focuses on American meanings. You are correct. If you use your dictionary as a noun, but not as, the adjectives says opposing political or social progress or reform. I'm not going to argue with you, Paul, about dictionary definitions. It's there. You mean reactive. Reactive is the word. Ian says, I think winning Champions League is also huge. We have so many trophies to win. So if a manager have to underplay bad plays and overhype good patches, that is okay if it leads to success. Let's see Mikel Arteta's metal. It's all about metal at this point. It is all about metal. And we will see what Arsenal are made of in these final 11 or so games of this Premier League. Is it 10 games? Is it 10 or is it 11? Table. 27. Yeah, we've got 11 games left. 11 games to go. Let's hopefully see it. 33 points to play for. Arsenal can get a maximum of 91 points if we were to win all 11. I don't think we will, but that's the maximum that we can get. MI Texas, if we lose tomorrow, which is unlikely, then sure the league season is over. It'd be very difficult to disagree and think that, it's not impossible, but I would empathize with people that would think that winning the league is going to be near, if not impossible, if we end up losing tomorrow. It is in our hands, absolutely. Neon says they haven't had a game for 12 days. They would love to see themselves stopping us winning a title. Tough game. Yeah, look, it's going to be on it from minute one. Second again is going to be sung from minute one. So we need to be. It's my first time going there. I'm looking forward to it. But it's going to be hostile. Oh, it says, Tom, Dan mentioned that you provided stats of where our goals are from in the team. Have you got those stats? Yeah. I did do it on the show the other day. Before, this was a few days ago, so they're a little bit out of date now, but Nkapie scoring, and who scored the other goal for us? It was Saka, wasn't it? So that might have changed a little bit, to be fair. But let me see if I can find you the stats. Here we go. So this was on February 13th, so a week ago. So before the Wolves game, 74% of Arsenal's goals in 23-24 after 28 games have been scored by either strikers, wingers, or attacking midfielders. Last season, 66% of Arsenal's goals were scored by attackers, wingers, or forwards, or attacking midfielders. And then this season, 58% of Arsenal's 50 goals have been scored by their attacking contingent of players. So that's the difference. So yeah, Tom says I didn't get accreditation. Oh no, I imagine it was a big one, a big contingent of obviously requested accreditation for this game. So yeah, sorry, Tom. It's going to be a mad one. So, yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry, it's not my fault. But I'm sorry for you. Barry says trophies are won on the pitch and not in the paper. Absolutely. Ames says needed Mikel to put his boots on against Wolves. Well, we needed something against Wolves, but I don't know if it was that. Tony says, Tom, do you see Arteta walking if we don't win the league? I don't think it's impossible. I think I've said that before. I said it wouldn't necessarily shock me, to be fair. It's another reason why I want us to win. MI Texas, I feel what others see as a negative could be a positive. A lot of tough games upcoming, which this team has been shown to win. We have dropped points against all of the lesser sides instead. Every game's been a struggle, it feels like this. Every game has been, there's just so much pressure. Every game is a cup final. It really is. Barry says, man, why are Gooner so negative? Yes, we have had a few poor performances, but look where we are. Let's get behind the team and show them what we believe them. Let's just beat Spurs. I love the message, Barry. I do. I empathise with people's frustrations. It's been a really difficult couple of weeks. You know, we've won more than a couple of weeks. We've won 2 league games in 7. That's not the form of a title winner. That needs to change. But I agree with you in terms of getting behind the team. You need to back them and hope that they can go and do it. Mike says the conversation about Arteta is silly. If we don't challenge for honours one season and then we have that, then we can have that conversation. It is kind of where I do agree with that, Mike. Yeah, I think, you know, if Arsenal were to regress, you know, that's when we'd start having a conversation really more about his future. But as I've said before, challenging is the bare minimum expectation for me. It's the bare minimum. David says Fever Pitch might be a good film, especially the end when we finally do it. Paul says we have to win at least 8 games, and one of those games would need to be against City. I think you're probably right. Jonas says another Eza hat-trick tomorrow and all is well. Just don't see him playing at the moment, do you? I just don't see Eza getting any minutes right now. Difficult to see that. Right, we're nearly at the hour mark, so we're going to wrap things up there. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. Stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.